course, thank you to our amazing presenting sponsors showing up to provide this conversation nationwide around the globe. And you can see those presenting sponsors listed in front of you that have dedicated some investment money into this show. So thanks again for all of that. We have gone into many more households, and actually Julia did this while I was on vacation, Shark Week last week. So Julia, how many homes now is the nonprofit show being streamed to?
39 million.
39 million.
And let me tell you, so the nonprofit show has their own channel. So all of our archive is on there, as well as the current show. So it pops up, it's populated within a couple hours. Our editor and executive producer, Kevin Pace, gets right on it. It gets uploaded. It's obviously for free. It's a little shocking to see us in full splendor on these massive TV screens.
Oh, hell yeah, on the TV. That's right. Well, I love that. And no wonder Kevin got a promotion. So good job there, Kevin.
He did get a promotion. I think we mentioned it once. And maybe,
yes.
Yes.
So
Kevin's a rock star.
The ball rolling. Julia Patrick, thanks for having me. She's the CEO of the American Nonprofit Academy. And then myself here, Jarrett Ransom, also known as your nonprofit nerd, CEO of the Raven Group. And today I am so thrilled. Nick Miller has joined us from Brooklyn, New York, and he is the Director of Partnerships for FundraiseUp. Good morning/afternoon to you, Nick. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Julia and Jarrett. It is such a pleasure to get to join you on today's episode of the Nonprofit Show. Like Jarrett said, I'm the Director of Partnerships at FundraiseUp. And if you haven't yet heard of us, well, here's the time. We are a manufacturer of an online donation platform. And what makes our platform special is that we have created the most individualized online donation experience for nonprofits donors. And we do that 3 ways. First is with artificial intelligence. Sounds kind of spooky, I know, but trust me, it works really well. Machine learning, and then a little bit of magic. And I don't want to give away too much of the secret sauce, but a big part of that magic has to do with data. And unlike a lot of other software vendors out there, we don't just collect data. We use the data that we collect to enhance our product every single day so that our nonprofit customers are always getting the best experience possible. And so it's a pleasure to not only work for FundraiseUp, but to get to work with our partners, which include agencies, consultants, and of course, our integration partners like Bloomerang and Kindful.
Awesome. We love Bloomerang. And I saw that you had posted on LinkedIn and Stephen Shattuck like that. Nick, how long has FundraiseUp been around? When was the organization established, or the company, I should say?
Yes, so we have been around for, I think, a little over 3 years now. The product, of course, has existed a little bit longer than that. But, it takes some time for traction to build. But even in this short period of time, we've seen so many nonprofits of all sizes come to become customers with us because they recognize the power of the tool and the price point, which allows anybody to onboard with us.
That's wonderful. I love how data has become sexy, right? Like, yes. I really do love how nonprofits, businesses alike, which nonprofits are businesses, have really engaged and evolved the way they make decisions based on data. And yes. I just, I appreciate it so much, and that's totally when I can nerd out. So I'm looking forward to nerding out with you today, Nick, and learning more about all the opportunities that FundraiseUp offers, as well as, Julie, I think we're going to talk a little bit about the recurring donations and how the different platforms, how your platform, I should say, can really enhance some of those giving opportunities.
Exactly. I would love to know, starting out, so many nonprofits work at different times of the year. We're moving into that fourth quarter where, so many nonprofits, that's their make or break. They have these big pushes, and then they just live in fear, literally in fear, that this one short period of time is going to solve all their revenue problems. And what I have come to learn about your organization, Nick, is that it seems to me like you're really pushing that reoccurring monthly gift so that you build a pattern. So could you talk to us about that?
Absolutely. And if any of our viewers have familiarized themselves with the study that Fidelity Charitable did recently, then they know that donors are responding positively despite these unprecedented circumstances. We have, I think it's upwards of 25% of donors saying they plan to give more in 2021. And we have, I believe, over half of donors saying we will at least give the same amount, which is amazing news for nonprofits. Because like you're saying, I mean, this fourth quarter is make or break. December is a huge month for every nonprofit. And especially now that we're in the midst of a pandemic, it's more important than ever. And so we already generally know that a recurring gift has greater value for a donor than a one-time gift. In fact, we don't even have to create much of a case for it. The data kind of speaks for itself, right? And so we were very curious to learn what exactly that impact can look like for a nonprofit. And so we took a bunch of one-time gifts, and by a bunch I mean thousands of transactional records, and we looked at the value of donors' one-time gifts. And we calculated that if they just made a one-time gift within 12 months, the value would have been about $240,000. But what's really special about the FundraiseUp platform is that our technology will automatically prompt a donor to move to a recurring gift when it recognizes that there will be greater value from a smaller monthly gift than from a one-time annual gift. And so we take that $240,000 number, and then after prompting the donor to say, hey, there's an opportunity for you to show more support by making a smaller monthly gift, and we take everybody who converts over to a monthly gift, and by the end of 12 months, the value is somewhere north of $840,000. That's, I think it's like a 247% increase in value, and that's huge. It's absolutely massive, and of course critical to nonprofits who are looking to the future and wondering, how are we going to weather this storm?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I just went, wow, because that's mind blowing, right? And I love the artificial intelligence that your platform offers, you know, and it really makes me wonder, because I did an article, I do some guest article writing, and it was actually for Grant Station. They had asked me, as well as several other consultants, to kind of, you know, if we had a crystal ball, what would we envision would happen for 2020 this year? And I, you know, one of the things I said, Nick, was we're going to see a lot more of the monthly recurring donors. And I believe that that's true, that's happened. And even more so, I want to say, during this pandemic, I stand firmly, and I believe it with every fiber of my body, generosity has increased at this time, right? So the people that are able to give, I believe, and I've seen firsthand, have given in larger amounts. And so many more people are moved to perhaps give that first time gift. It could be a small amount, but it could be significant to them. So what you just shared with me truly is mind-blowing. And I would love for you to expand on, if you would, how does an organization get involved with FundraiseUp? What does that look like? How does it, like you mentioned that it does sync or work in tangent with some other, you know, platforms, Bloomerang being one of them. How does that work, right? And how do you navigate these change strategies?
Absolutely. And now more than ever, nonprofits are recognizing that they have to be agile. They have to be able to shift their programs and move in new directions. And where we may have placed more emphasis on analog methods of communicating with donors, whether it's direct mail or another strategy, we're now having to move the boat a little bit. It's like moving one of those large cruise ships. You can't just do it overnight, right? You have to start turning the wheel, and it's a little bit slow at first, but it gets you pointed in the right direction. And where our new North Star, I think, is for nonprofits is in the digital realm. And that's where we come to the table, because we recognize that there's an opportunity for us to best serve nonprofits who are wanting to raise more money for their charities. And Jarrett, you said it really well, that people who are able to give will give now. And it's not because it financially makes sense for them. You know, they're not putting in dollars to a nonprofit stock market, but it's because they genuinely care about the difference that a charity is making. And so we want our platform to be as accessible as possible. And so to make that really easy for any nonprofit, whether it's an enterprise level nonprofit where you might see ads for them on TV, or your local animal shelter, we've removed the friction from coming on board. And so we don't do contracts. We don't do monthly fees. There's no setup fees. There's no support fees. We're never going to say, oh, time's up. You've used all 3 hours of your support for this year. No, we're always happy to chat with people. And we do natively integrate with CRMs like Bloomerang and Kindful, and even Blackbaud's Razor's Edge and Salesforce as well. And so because we can create this really smooth integration between the nonprofit's existing software and our donation platform, you remove a lot of headache, a lot of friction, and it means that a nonprofit making decisions tomorrow can get started with FundraiseUp that same day. And that's really important now that we are having to, you know, as nonprofits, having to shift and pivot and look toward new solutions to raise more money.
I have to say, go ahead, Julia.
I'm curious, like we've had some fabulous guests on to talk about data, and we've done that from really the get-go. And so now we've done more than 100 shows, and this data has been a topic that weaves through so many of our episodes. And one of the questions I have is, if you're an organization that's never really been geared towards understanding, evaluating, and working with data, do you need to be kind of doing that first before you engage in a platform like yours? Or can this be the start of a mindset shift even to looking at data?
Yeah, thank goodness. No, you don't need to have any experience with, you know, digging into an Excel spreadsheet and trying to run complex formulas on the data that you're getting from, say, your CRM. And so what we've done with our platform is use artificial intelligence and machine learning to do the heavy lifting for you. So we may have some viewers right now that in the past have customized their direct mail pieces so that the recipient's receiving a gift array amount that's customized to them. But traditionally, that's been really hard to do online, especially for the smaller players in the nonprofit sector. But we use our data and our technology to help craft the experience to each individual donor. So Julia, Jarrett, if we all went on to a charity website right now that we all support, we might actually see 3 different variations of amounts that we could give. And that's massively important, because we know that when we present donors with information that is customized to them, we're more likely to be able to invite them in to make a donation.
Wow. What a great system. And I was going to say, Nick, you know, when you agreed with me that a lot of people that are giving now or can give now, they will give now. And I think, you know, since March, I have seen some of the most altruistic measures being done genuinely, right, since this time. And I also want to say, wow, what an innovative, disruptive culture I believe that FundraiseUp has, in the fact that it's not nickeling and diming with the contracts and the setup fees and things like that. So, you know, I always applaud those innovative disruptors. But that really aligns with the altruism that I'm seeing displayed right now across the nation and even globally with support. Is it really seems like that is, you know, that is also woven through the culture of the organization. So kudos to the organization, to your company for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's exciting. I'm curious, like, what do you think a starting base nonprofits' budget should be to kind of move into this direction? Is this something that you really should not be looking at if you're a startup or you're less than 3 years old or a certain budget type? What are your thoughts? Oh, is that your delivery?
We knew this was going to happen.
This
Go
is
ahead.
amazing.
This is amazing. Go ahead.
Let me go take care of that for just a
ahead.
moment, and I'll be back with an
No,
answer.
no, no. Go ahead. You got to leave your camera on. Okay, so this is fascinating. Nick just moved to New York
From Portland. Mm-hmm.
and you can tell there's nothing. He's in his apartment. He didn't go into the office today. That's in Brooklyn. He is waiting for all of his boxes of things to arrive. And he's like, I hope, ladies, that it doesn't come. We only have 30 minutes. And so I think they've actually come. So we're witnessing the birth of a new citizen of your city.
Yeah,
Yes.
I love
I'm
it.
so sorry,
No,
everyone.
that's the best.
It's
But it's
perfect.
taken care of.
Hey,
Yes.
talk about the pandemic, right? You have to roll with the punches. We're
That's
all
right.
navigating change, and
That's
I am
right.
actually honored that we got to witness this next chapter of your life, Nick. This is really fun.
God,
Thank you. Thank you. You've all been a part of a really big moment in my life, and I appreciate having you guys
I'm
along.
living vicariously through you, and in fact, we've had several guests that have also moved during this time, and so that's been fun to witness. But so you were asking Julia in particular about, what is the right size organization for FundraiseUp? Is this something that a smaller nonprofit that still may be very much in grassroots fundraising efforts and engagement, donor cultivation? Or is this more like the enterprise organizations in which you mentioned?
Yes, so I know there was a study done a while back that found that there's a significant number of nonprofit organizations spending anywhere between $10,000 to $100,000 just on their technology, which is a staggering amount. And again, if you're the local animal shelter, you don't have $100,000 to throw at a CRM, donor software, a direct mail program, SMS, email, the whole 9 yards. And again, that's where we're able to come to the table and say, whether you are the biggest player in the game or that local animal shelter, there's a starting point for you, because we have removed the friction of those sometimes massive fees. I mean, there are some platforms that will charge $400 a month plus A, B, C, D, and the list goes on, right? And there's no way that we could look at what's happening in the world right now and say we need to be charging people monthly fees and locking them into multi-year contracts, because there's nobody who's looking at the future and feeling a lot of certainty right now. And by making people get stuck with these contracts, you're basically saying, well, no matter what, you owe us money at the end of the day. And we want to unlock the cash flow for nonprofits so that more money is going to programming and other efforts that they have boots on the ground than having to worry about allocating upwards of $100,000 just for technology.
Right. Interesting. It's hard to believe, but our time is almost gone, and I'm dying to see what's in those boxes too. So I've got one last question for you, and that is, and we kind of touched on it lightly when we were first chatting, but that is, how do you see that COVID-19 has impacted the desire for organizations in the nonprofit sector to reach out and search for this technology? We're working with so many nonprofits that have had complete disruption on all levels, certainly fundraising. And that's that one-on-one charismatic, I can be in a ballroom, I can be across the table of a dining room. Now we're looking at technology to manage those interfaces. So what do you think about that? Is that going to keep going? If the cure for this pandemic comes, we won't need your product anymore? What?
It's such a fascinating question. And I mean, we could take this question and replicate it amongst any number of situations, right? But where we find ourselves is here in the realm of fundraising. And you may have heard it before, you may have even said it before, that in many ways the nonprofit sector trails behind, say, retail and e-commerce in terms of marketing strategy and technology. And unfortunately, it is true. And there are nonprofits that are right now stuck with what I'll call legacy technology that was not designed for the agility that nonprofits are having to function with now. And I think we'll see slow movement from software vendors that created legacy technology like that, but it might not be fast enough. And that's why some of the more recent players in the game, ourselves included, have a better foot in the door, because we were created with agility in mind. And so as nonprofits evolve, we evolve with them. And the example I'm thinking of right now is with delivery from restaurants, right? Before the pandemic, maybe you had a few restaurants that would deliver through Grubhub or Postmates or another app. Now everybody is doing it. Everybody has pivoted to match. And so that relationship between a restaurant or even a food cart and an app like Postmates is evolving. And we're seeing that same thing happen here in nonprofit technology. And we at FundraiseUp are excited because, again, for a lot of these not the small nonprofits that are just getting started with exploring new digital strategy, it's an excellent first and last step for them.
Nick, you said it so well. Legacy technology. I'm adopting that, and that needs
that's the nice way of putting it, right?
That's a very nice way of putting it. There are so many legacy institutional ways of doing things. So thank you for putting that into my vocabulary, because I'm always looking at how do I say this but not candy coat it, and I think that's a really good way. I love it. What's next for FundraiseUp? I mean, what are you working on? You just moved cross country. The pandemic, is still here. In fact, we always joke, Julia and I, and she says, let's do the Corona Chronicles for 2 weeks. And I said, okay, I can dedicate 2 weeks. And then the joke is every 2 weeks, she said another 2 weeks. And so we pivoted. We've kept the show. We've looked at investments, from sponsors to help keep the show going. And we are dedicated and committed to this national presence and conversation, as I know FundraiseUp is, especially in the fundraising world. What's next? I mean, what are you working on? What's something that maybe your R&D team are looking at right now?
Yes. Well, like you, we've recognized that there is a need that we can serve. And so your 2-week show turns into something that becomes an everyday part of people's lives. And that's where we're finding ourselves too, that we are meeting a need, and that need will continue into the future past COVID. And so there are a lot of exciting developments under the hood right now. Some of them I don't know that I could talk about just yet, but let me just say that one of the core features of our platform is what we call elements. And there are these beautiful, visually engaging components that you can build into any part of your website. It can be a button, it can be a giving thermometer, it can be an impact slider, and they already perform so well with our nonprofits. But we recognize that there is a growing opportunity there. And so we are adding in all sorts of under the hood features that will allow even the smallest nonprofit to see just how well those elements are performing on their website. And it's unprecedented, because this is the type of technology that you usually see reserved for, again, those enterprise level nonprofits, but we're bringing the enterprise level tech to everybody. And so that's in the pipeline. We we wrapped up work on our virtual terminal feature, which lets you process those over the phone or in-person gifts through the platform. And in a few weeks' time, we'll be pushing that out to everybody. And that's a huge feature. And then those elements, we're aiming to have those pushed out the door here, I believe, by the end of Q4, because we want people to have these things in preparation for the year end and into 2021.
What a teaser, Nick.
Yeah.
It's good. And I'm gonna go ahead and throw you on our calendar then for the end of Q4.
Please do.
Would love to be, on the list of, seen first here at the nonprofit show. So Julia, let's see if we can get FundraiseUp. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, this has been amazing. I know you're super excited to unpack your boxes, Nick. Welcome to Brooklyn.
My espresso machine is calling my name. I've been missing it.
Oh, I bet. I bet. First world problems, I'm sure.
Right, right.
True. Well, hey, this has been great. Welcome back from Shark Week, Jarrett Ransom. I'm Julia Patrick, the CEO of the American Nonprofit Academy. Again, Jarrett Ransom, here's your contact information, your nonprofit nerd, our nonprofit nerd, my nonprofit nerd. Nick Miller, you have been delightful. I'm really excited to see the trajectory of your technology, to see how it's going to integrate with all the things that the nonprofit sector is doing. We need more people like you in our sector. Jarrett said this from the beginning, and it's it's like a cloud around my head all the time. And that is that the nonprofit sector was due for a major disruption. And we can lean in and we can embrace it and be fearless in taking risks and adopting new things, or we can lag behind. And so with something like your product, it's really exciting to see that, and that gives me hope for our sector. So here's Nick's information. Again, for those of you who just joined us maybe a little late, we are announcing that we are now on Roku. We just went into another 39 million homes. So you can speak into your remote or your smart speaker and say the nonprofit show, and which I've tested. It's crazy cool, and we pop up, and all of our episodes are on it, and daily everything's uploaded, so you never have to miss us, and you can see us in your from the comfort of your lazy boy chair.
Talk about pivoting and staying with the times, Julia. I'm just like wowed.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, it's super crazy, but really exciting. And so we're growing that. Again, we want to thank our presenting sponsors. You've done nothing but support us on this journey of talking with a lot of different people throughout this country of ours to see how we can all navigate changing times, which are changing for the better, and in some cases not changing for the better, depending on how you take a look at it. So again, to our sponsors, thank you, thank you, thank you. Again, this has been the Nonprofit Show. I'm Julia Patrick with Nick Miller and Jarrett Ransom, and I want to end this day and start the new week with my mantra: stay well so you can do well. Thank you, everybody, so much. We'll see you here tomorrow.
Absolutely. Bye, Nick.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.